welcome in healers and caregivers. Healers and caregivers, good morning. This is Michelle and Trey Hollis. This is 5 Star Conversations, where we connect you with healthcare providers, healers, and conversations about health and well-being. And this is the Proverbs as a Practice Bible study series. I am super grateful for this knowledge that has been left for years. When you really start having communion, I don't even know if that's the right way to say it technically. And that's the thing about this channel too, is that I'm an everyday person speaking to healthcare professionals and experts, researchers, and doing it on behalf of the everyday people. Because I am everyday people. Yay. And that's true. And I know there's a lot of people like me who, especially in my age group, I'm 44, I'll be 45 in July. And, if you're blessed enough to be alive on earth and you're healthy enough to make a change and to be intentional about how to move forward, mind, body, spirit, soul, and money. That's high five to the vibe. That's 5 Star Conversations. If you're old enough to take guidance and to be in control of your future, then now's the time to do that. And that's what this channel is that's who this channel is really designed for. It's for the people who are taking care of themselves and need to take care of themselves, but also are taking care of either children or parents or both. That's what this channel is for, and I'm in that space. And so what I'm doing here, this is the Proverbs as a Practice series. And I'm taking the time to go through Proverbs. And this morning, normally, I've already started. Okay, so what I'm doing, hello, welcome everybody. What I'm doing is every day I'm reading a chapter and really marinating on that, because we're just in a world where we need guidance, we need guidance and understanding from a higher power. And that's what I'm taking in. Now, I want you to know I'm not perfect. I've gotten over drug addiction personally. I have been a hardcore drug addict for years, And I'm finally not. And it's by choice. It's by choice. I'm a soldier in the army of the Most High, my friend. That's who I'm a soldier. Yes, I'm a soldier there's a war going on outside no one is safe from. And it's true. But just like Mobb Deep said, ain't no such thing as halfway crook. And really there's no such thing as halfway winning. You know what I mean? There's no way if we want to have a successful rest of our lives, we get to start today. And so that is where we are, that's where we're focused on. And that's what this channel is focused on. This channel is for people like me. I'm 44 years old, and I'm lucky enough to be able to choose how I want to live the rest of my life. And I want to choose leadership and choose money, financial abundance, wealth, stability. I'm choosing those things, and I'm choosing to take care of my family and heal generational curses. But, I don't want to say people don't realize, but what I want you to understand, what I'm understanding, is that healing generational curses sounds glamorous. But what you don't realize is that you're healing the people before you, you're healing generations before you and generations ahead. And what does that mean? That means that there's a responsibility for you to lead correctly, for you to be financially wise so that you can teach the youth. That's a big part people don't want to talk about today. Nobody, everybody wants to be the leader, but no one wants to be the teacher of the youth, and the youth starts right in our own backyard. We don't need to, most of us, I don't have kids personally, but I have a niece that I live with, and I have nieces and nephews, and I have cousins, younger cousins. Like, the example is bigger than having my name across anything. It's more about leading and how I learn how to create wealth and abundance and have that confidence to do so. And how do I bring my family in with me? That's a different kind of leadership. How do I bring my community up with me? My friends, my worldwide community, yes, but also my local community. How do we all get involved with each other and all rise and all have a much more powerful experience and existence on earth? It's a very intentional conversation that we get to have with ourselves. And it means starting with connecting into the Most High every morning. So what I've been doing here, I'm reading the Hallelujah scriptures, and I'm reading one scripture a day. And it's transforming. It has been transforming already the way I go about my day. I've been more excited about the projects that I'm working on. I've been more decisive about, being a voice for the caregiver, which is what my mission is, and helping people heal through creativity, through spiritual growth, through professional development, through personal development. And I've gone through those transformations myself. Thank you so much. And so what I'm doing is I'm reading this. We're going to do chapter 12. I could talk forever, but I think this is the first time I'm really diving into the why I'm doing this and why I find it so important. Like, a lot of us, it's time for us to lead. Everybody wants to have their own brand, or, and have their own, be the queen and star of the show. But who's going to teach who's going to teach? Who's going to really mentor? In a true sense, And so I'm learning, connecting in with the Most High. So what we're doing is we're reading Proverbs. So here, let me get to directly what Proverbs, what we're talking about here. Today is the 12th of the month. So that's why we're going to read Proverbs 12. And this is beautiful. It has been so beautiful. It's really teaching me. So I hope that it can bless you too. Now, before we start with Proverbs chapter 12, which is actually pronounced Mishle, I'm giving a little teaching. This is the scriptures. This is the Hallelujah scriptures, which are the closest to Hebrew. Okay. And so first we ground ourselves in what Proverbs is for. So that's 1 through 6. And we're going to read Proverbs chapter 1, 1 through 6. The Proverbs of Shlomo, son of David, sovereign of Yisrael, for knowing wisdom and discipline, for understanding the words of understanding, for receiving the discipline of wisdom, righteousness, right ruling, and straightness, for giving insight to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the young. That's what Proverbs is for. The wise one hears and increases learning, and the understanding one gets wise counsel. For understanding a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. How can we discern if we're hearing words from the wise? This is what Proverbs is for. And if you think about it, again, I always just like to point out Proverbs is pro-action. Pro-action. Proverbs is pro-action, though being proactive. And this is a guide just for that. So today, let's go ahead and go into chapter 12. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid. Straight up, it says right there. It says right there. He who hates reproof is stupid, period. Like, no mincing other words. The good obtains favor from Yahuwah, But the man of wicked devices, he declares wicked. A man is not established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous shall not be moved. The root of the righteous shall not be moved. A capable wife is the crown of her husband, but one causing shame is like rottenness in the bones. The thoughts of the righteous are right ruling. The counsels of the wicked are deceit. The words of the wicked are lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the straight delivers them. Ooh. The words of the wicked are lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the straight delivers them. That's fantastic. You know what, Marshall? Let's see. God sent Lucifer to earth. Eventually it became hell, and we, Adam and Eve, sinned. He gave them a punishment in going to earth, meaning we already in hell. You know what? I don't disagree. However, there's still peace available. There's still peace available. I can't explain it, and it's true. It's true. It's taken me a long time to get here. I'm 44 years old, but peace is available. And the more that you can see it, and the more you recognize if you are privileged enough to have any type of support system, any type of place to start as a support system, you are blessed. And I learned that after I went on a dark night of the soul journey, and I jumped out of the frying pan into a fire. And I got to a place where I was going to go to a homeless shelter. And I said, you know what? I said, I would rather go to a homeless shelter and get my life together than I would to be in this situation. And I started the process of putting my name on the waiting list. And I was fully prepared. Pain is real, absolutely. And there's pain and then there's suffering. If you are not in literal pain, you should not be suffering. Let's save the suffering till we're actually in pain if we must suffer. That's what I've learned in my walk and what I'm learning in my walk. No unnecessary suffering. Are things the way I like it? No. Were the books, for example, Giant? Yeah, no, I know Thomas and all that, and the Book of Enoch. I'm very familiar. Like I ain't no fake conversation over here. You know what I mean? Do I know everything? No. But do I know a lot? And enough to know that I don't really know what anything is actually going on? Truly. You know what I mean? But what I do know is when peace is delivered, I know when I understand something. And it's one thing to know something. It's one thing to understand something. And then it's something completely different to understand your understanding of something. And that's deep. I didn't write the rules. I just live here. One day I just woke up and here I was, you know? And it really is that simple and that complicated all at the same time. Unfortunately, that's the paradox of this life we live in, folks. You know, I didn't make the rules. But what I do know is that understanding that your understanding is your path to your freedom is... That's what I just said that. You said true. He said true that you don't know, but accept that you don't know the reason you're on this damn planet. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. But however, as long as I'm a sovereign being, as long as I have time to be on this app, having a conversation with you, I have a choice. And, you know, and for the people that truly don't have a choice to be joyful, to not be in pain, if we have a choice and it's emotional pain, do the healing work, my friend. And then on the flip side, if you don't have a choice because you're in actual pain and discomfort, then that's a different story. But I'm like, we're going to be in pain at some point in our life. Like, we can't deny that we're going to be in pain at points of our life. And save the suffering for the actual pain is what I'm understanding. And everything else, figure out every other second or minute that you can figure out how to, you better figure out how to be an immense joy. As long as the sky is clear and I can sit outside and face the sun in the morning, I better figure out what can I get out of my system that's preventing me from the peace and beauty and appreciation of that simplicity. That's what we get to work on. And that's very important. Thank you too, Marshall. I appreciate your conversation today, and keep talking, because honestly, I want this to be more of a back and forth. This is the kind of Bible study I'm doing. I'm not here to preach. I'm here to teach, and I'm here to share this practice with you. If you want someone to go through this practice of reading Proverbs 1 chapter a day for the rest of the month. Today is day 12 of the month, so we're reading 12. And if I hope that if you're here and you're listening, that you get that it supports you. And if it doesn't, that's fine. There's plenty of stuff online. You know what I mean? And I watch all kinds of different stuff. I come to different understanding, but these scriptures are hitting different, because it's one thing. There's just a peace in understanding that you understand what's true and what's not. And that's what I'm gaining through this practice. So hopefully you can share. Now, I want to let you know, you can go to the Proverbs as a practice playlist and listen to chapter 1, or which day 1 through 12, because that's I've read them all up until today, 12, and tomorrow we're going to do 13. So just sharing with you how that's going to work. So let's get back to Proverbs chapter 12, and we started at verse 6. Okay. The words of the wicked are lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the straight delivers them. The wicked are overthrown and are no more, but the house of the righteous stands. A man is praised according to his wisdom, but the perverted of heart becomes despised. Better to be lightly esteemed and have a servant than the highly esteemed who lacks bread. Tell somebody. Better to be lightly esteemed and have a servant than the highly esteemed who lacks bread. That's deep. I'm already at peace, my friend. And I'm sorry that you're not. I understand. That's the hard place. This whole thing is a crazy place to live. You know what I mean? This whole life is just weird. Life is weird. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to act like I understand it all. I don't. And I can still be at peace. That's the beauty of the free will, is to have the choice to be at peace anyways. And I honestly, you're touching on why I think what I really think the knowledge, what I really think choosing to eat from the tree of life versus eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because when you eat from the tree of life, what you're saying is, whatever all of it is, it just is. But when you eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you're checking everybody. You're checking yourself. You're thinking, I'm alive today, but I'll be dead tomorrow. We all know this. So we may as well live while we live. That's the opportunity that we have as that's our choice, our free will choice. We can either choose to eat from the tree of life, or we can choose to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And I choose life as much as I can figure out how to. Now, don't get me out here lying, acting like I always am just some high and mighty having the right thoughts. No. And that's why I study, and I'm studying, and I'm, being very intentional about talking with God and being with God more, because I get to understand and feel that guidance. And it feels great to feel guidance from the Most High and from your higher self and from words of wisdom that have been around for thousands of years. If you can't say anything else about the scriptures, what you can say is that this wisdom is being read and passed on for generations and generations. That in it of itself is powerful to me. And so I understand why these understandings have been great business and mental concepts for people over their years. Anyways, so we're on chapter 12, the righteous, and chapter 12, verse 10. The righteous regards the life of his beast, but the compassion of the wicked is cruelty. He who tills his land is satisfied with bread, but he who pursues vanities is lacking heart. Ooh, yep. I think that's going to be really important in this season too. Find a farm that you can work for in your area. You can be real cool with them. That's a great place to volunteer, I believe. And to connect in with. And farmers are amazing people, not to mention, a lot of them are amazing people. So he who tills his land is satisfied with bread, but he who pursues vanities is lacking heart. The wicked shall covet the catch of evildoers. It's getting to that time in the year when there's ants everywhere. Okay. The wicked shall covet the catch of evildoers, but the root of the righteous yields fruit. In the transgression of the lips is an evil. Okay, let me lock in because I kind of got distracted with the ends. Okay, the wicked shall covet the catch of evildoers. Ooh, I'm glad I went back to that. The wicked shall covet the catch of evildoers, but the root of the righteous yields fruit. Come on, let's go. Oh God, let's be rooted and allow God to produce fruits. And let's stop looking at people that we envy. We don't know how they created anything. On a mission, what happens if something has no reason for existing? Questions. Thank you. Well, thank you for your time. And you know what? All of that is true. That's the great paradox of life, is that nobody's actually wrong. If it exists in the mind, if it exists as a possibility, it is true. It just depends on what timeline that you want to align with, and not everybody's ready for that conversation, but that's just true. Okay. Here we go. So chapter 12, and then let's get back to, that's good. Let me do 12:12. That's deep. The wicked shall covet the catch of evildoers, but the root of the righteous yields fruit. In the transgression of the lips is an evil snare, but the righteous gets out of distress. That's why we, learn, listen and learn. From the fruit of his mouth, one is filled with good, and the work of a man's hands is given back to him. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he who listens to advice is wise. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he who listens to advice is wise. Oh, glory. And we can learn something from everything. That's why, thank you, Marshall. I had this person here, really talking to me from your perspective, and I'm not here to shut down nobody's perspective. Because for what? I don't know. I'm not a know-it-all. I don't know. I'm not God. So, I've already seen, even in my reflection of these verses, I've already seen where I misunderstood the whole plot and didn't figure it out till like a few chapters in. And I'm like, oh, I thought it meant this. That's okay. Be open to learning. Be open to just receiving. It's receiving is what it is. It's receiving. Receive. And let your spirit and your circumstances and the Most High sort it all out for you for what you're supposed to gain from it. What I gain from things is not the same thing that what you gain. That's why I'm a big proponent. That's why I'm not preaching. A lot of times preaching, you get, the typical way of preaching is just to take a few of the verses and to establish a whole conversation around it. I don't like to do that. As I started reading the Bible on my own, when God would give me verses and things that to remember and look up, I would read the chapter before and the chapter after, because context is important to what my message is. And I love how everybody a lot of people have their own interpretation, because it is based on their personal experience. They're going to interpret things different. And it's good to hear that interpretation, even though, and just because an interpretation of a scripture or of anything in life is right, doesn't mean that it's supposed to resonate with you. Or just because, just because someone is correct in their interpretation doesn't mean that your difference of understanding is wrong. It doesn't work. That life just simply doesn't work that way. And the quicker we can understand that, the quicker we let go of control. And that's what I'm understanding. So chapter 12, we're on verse 16. That's why I'm reading the whole chapter every day. So today we're reading chapter 12 because today's the 12th. Tomorrow we're going to read chapter 13 because tomorrow's the 13th. And yesterday we read chapter 11 because it was the 11th. And I just read through, and then things that kind of come up, we talk about it. If somebody has a conversation that they want to talk about in the chat, we'll pause for it as long as time allots. And, this is just a time to come into community and leadership through a sacred book that's been around for thousands of years. That's how I view this wisdom. I'm like, this wisdom, these are words that came from somewhere that have been around for, since antiquity. That's what makes this interesting, and that's what makes this an important read for anyone. You can't go wrong reading this. This is like people are creating laws based on this book. You can't go wrong studying it. You're not going to lose a thing by studying it. But if you're not interested and you're doing something else, fine. But if you are, you're not, but they're trying to make, the Christian nationalists are here to make the Bible seem basic, to keep everybody away from it. It's actually insane how that works, But anyway. Chapter 12, verse 16, Proverbs. A fool's wrath is known at once, but a clever one covers shame. That's a good one. A fool's wrath is known at once, but a clever one covers shame. He who speaks truth declares righteousness, but a false witness deceit. Rash speaking is like piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is healing. And this is in my experience, I'm listening to myself speak to myself in my own head. And even that, I'm like, that's awful harsh. And I'm realizing that we don't need to be, even correcting the energy in which our mind is communicating with us, and of just the simple observation of it makes you realize, dang, I am hardcore. Why am I so aggressive in the way that I react to things, respond to things, anticipate things, or reflect on things? So that's what this has really been helping me realize too, because even with that, rash speaking is like piercings of a sword. It doesn't mean somebody else. That's telling me the tongue of the wise is healing. Even my own internal tongue gets to be healing in the way I approach things. It's actually fantastic to understand that everything that you say and think makes an incredible difference. The lip of truth is established forever, but a lying tongue is for but a moment. Deceit is in the heart of those who plot evil, but counselors of peace have joy. That part. Deceit is in the heart of those who plot evil, but counselors of peace have joy. That's beautiful. Counsel. I love that. Woo. Woo, I love that. No harm befalls the righteous, but the wicked shall be filled with evil. Lying lips are an abomination to Yahuwah, but those who deal truly are his delight. Those who deal truly are his delight. Lying lips are an abomination to Yahuwah, but those who deal truly are his delight. A clever man is concealing knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaims folly. The hand of the hard worker rules, but the lazy is put to compulsory labor. Anxiety in the heart of man causes depression. Anxiety in the heart of man causes depression, but a good word makes him glad. And that's why this has been so powerful for me. I'm telling you, this Proverbs is so powerful. If you really sit and listen and really connect with the words, what you begin to realize is that you are all you needed all along, you and the Most High. And you can trust that. The righteous is a guide to his neighbor, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. The lazy one has no game to roast, but the hard worker prizes his possessions. The lazy one has no game to roast, but the hard worker prizes his possessions. In that vein, now is the time in this world. Like, now is not the time to sleep. Now is not the time to not have anything. Like, you get to take inventory, and it's not just material goods, but it's your relationships. It's your contribution to the world. That's important. In the way of righteousness is high, which high is life, H-A-I, and in its pathway there is no death. Yes. He who has an ear, let him hear. Thank you for, and I pray, I forgot to pray before I started. So God, thank you for this beautiful day, the sun in our eyes. I hope that whoever's watching this takes some time and goes outside and allows the sun to nurture you. For you to take this moment and realize that you are not in a rush. You are not in a rush. We are being fed a lie to be on a hamster wheel when we can just stand. If we have the choice, we can just sit right here where we are and be grateful. We don't need to rush. We don't need to rush. And that is a powerful understanding. But we do get to work. In the way of righteousness is life, and in its pathway, there is no death. In the way of righteousness is high, and in its pathway, there is no death. That is so beautiful. So take your day, make it a beautiful, blessed one. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. And again, my name is Michelle M. Trey Hollis. 5-Star Conversations in the Sun City. This conversation is personal, and it's leadership, and it's you and God and me and you. You and God and me and you. I'm reading the Proverbs scripture day by day just to feel it, and so that you can see, so that you can have an opportunity to hear these words being read. I'm going to do a different version where I just read them, and I don't do the commentary, but while we're doing it here live, that's why I'm doing the commentary. Proverbs, action. Time for some action. Have you seen? I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Thank you so much. Well, you know what? Because we're being ourselves. Like, I'm not on here trying to be like, oh, I'm so, No, but what I know is that you as a healer, you as a caregiver, you must take time to be guided from the Most High in whatever way that looks for you. For me, I like history. I love history. I love truth. And that's why I'm reading. And I was gifted the understanding of the Hallelujah scriptures. And this is a closer translation to actual Hebrew. It's not the King James version. King James is kind of shady. And so that's another story for a different time that I can't tell, but just look it up, Google it, YouTube it. And so we're touching the source over here, the source of healing and transformation and leadership and guidance, and not being afraid of what history has to say. And there's like I said, here in America, we have people making policies on this book Not a bad way to start your day, to understand what's in there and understand why it's so powerful. It's not what you think. All right, peace and blessings.